Hello everyone, and welcome to my YNR Update 24 channel. I hope you're having a great day. Don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up before we dive into today's Young and the Restless update. The Young and the Restless spoilers update for Monday, October 20th, reveals that Christine Blair's crazy insult will trigger Phyllis Summer's Bachelorette Bash meltdown. At the athletic club, Devin Winters and Abby Winters will visit the jazz lounge without realizing it's reserved for Christine's pre-wedding party. Abby will get talked into sticking around and joining Christine for this festive occasion. Devin will also wind up at Danny Romolotti's bachelor celebration, which will be happening upstairs. As for Nate Hastings and Victoria Newman, their plan to have dinner at the GCAC will get nixed thanks to all the party action. It'll work out just fine since Victoria will land at Christine's bash while Nate enjoys a night with the guys. Michael Baldwin will be in charge of Danny's bachelor party, which will ultimately include Devin, Nate, and Jack Abbott as well. There'll be some funny stories and marriage advice as Danny prepares for his big day. After Michael spots Phyllis lurking, he'll try to shut down the trouble he'll assume she's going to stir up. Phyllis won't listen and will sneak down to Christine's bachelorette gathering anyway once she gets updates on the party news. Christine will be having a wonderful time with Abby, Victoria, Lauren Fenmore Baldwin, Tracy Abbott, and Diane Jenkins Abbott when Phyllis wrecks the fun. Although Christine will suggest she thought they got all their barbs out earlier, Phyllis will counter that she's got a bottomless bag of barbs and will push the bugs buttons again. Lauren will pull Phyllis away from the actual guests and try to get rid of her. Christine will eventually follow them and get under Phyllis's skin by calling her crazy. After Phyllis nearly attacks Christine twice, she'll finally stomp back upstairs and rant to Danny about his bride-to-be going too far. Once Phyllis is gone, Danny and Christine will end up combining their parties into one giant love fest in the jazz lounge. Unfortunately, the power will go out and plunge them all into darkness, so several partygoers will think Phyllis could be at fault. However, Phyllis will seem confused about the power outage in the dining area. Danny will reappear and wonder if she was responsible, but Nate will insist a failed transformer from a construction site is to blame since he asked a staff member. Once Danny is alone with Phyllis, she'll get weepy over Christine calling her crazy, since she'll indeed feel like she went crazy when she was held hostage with Sharon Newman. Phyllis will try to make peace with Danny's marriage decision since she'll want his happiness, so they'll be on good terms as this discussion winds down. That said, Phyllis will opt to skip the joint party when Danny urges her to come back down with him on Monday's YNR episode. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Danny will end the festivities with a song, so it'll be a great way to conclude the Bachelor and Bachelorette shindigs. The Young and the Restless spoilers suggest that Tessa Porter and Daniel Romolotti will share a drunken kiss during the week of October 20th to 24th, but could a lip lock turn into something more? Sparks fly. The Young and the Restless preview for the week of October 20th to 24th has dropped, and it shows a very drunk Tessa, as Daniel is helping her up to the steps of the GCAC. Want more of The Young and the Restless? Get updates on the latest news about The Young and the Restless, straight to your inbox. Website your email. Subscribe. We use your personal data for interest-based advertising, as outlined in our privacy notice. They look as if they are headed to a hotel room when Tessa plants a kiss on her best friend. He looks at her a little shocked. So will they do more? Fans know that Daniel has feelings for Tessa, something he's admitted to both his parents, Phyllis Summers and Danny Romolotti. Tessa kissing Daniel will feel like a dream come true, but as Tessa is intoxicated, Daniel may bring this situation to a halt. It's unclear if Daniel is as tipsy as Tessa, and even though he may want to do more, he likely won't. Daniel not only respects Tessa and wouldn't want to take advantage of her, but he cares for her and knows she's still in love with her wife, Mariah Copeland. What if? At the same time, if Daniel is tipsy as well, he may allow emotions to take control, and the two could cross a line. If Daniel and Tessa were to hit the sheets, the proverbial poop would hit the fan, and things could get very complicated. Not only because they are friends and she's married, but also because Daniel does have very real feelings for Tessa. As such, doing the deed would make things messy in this already sticky situation. Still, it would also make for some solid drama, and the bedroom session could also have Tessa realizing that she has more than friendly feelings for Daniel. Will Daniel and Tessa do more? The Young and the Restless spoilers suggest that someone will need to get some answers out of Detective Burrow now that he has been revealed to be somewhat of a crooked cop. Burrow knows the real story about Noah Newman accident, and the Newmans want answers. Will Claire Newman seduce Detective Burrow and get to the bottom of things? Claire Newman is in too deep. Claire has never met Noah yet. However, Claire's presence in LA could create an issue when it comes to Noah's accident. Victoria Newman has told Claire all about Noah. Now that Claire is there with Holden Novak in LA, Holden is obviously pals with Sienna Bacall. The family has become very important to Claire. Claire was raised by Jordan Howard, a master manipulator, and Claire may need to lean on some of her teachings to get information out of Detective Burrow. Could Claire get in over her head as she tries to help save her cousin from whatever fate they have planned for him? The week of October 20th to 24th, Kyle Abbott will see Holden and Sienna putting their heads together. Kyle will point this out to Claire, who may end up questioning Holden about his meeting with Sienna. Claire may also decide to stop by the hospital and check on Noah. Claire could also learn about the Sienna and Noah connection since she was calling Noah's phone. Nick Newman and Sharon Newman have been suspicious of Detective Burrow from day one. Nick has not gotten the information he wants and knows something is going on with this guy. Could Claire take matter into her own hands and seduce the detective to see if she can get the truth out of him? Claire Newman may use manipulation to get what she wants. Claire may decide it's time to use a bit of manipulation techniques and see just what information she can get out of the detective. Of course, Aaron and Cohen were a couple on General Hospital a few years back, and they had great chemistry. Will the writers check this out again by giving them some intimate scenes as Claire tries to help figure out who wanted her cousin to wreck? Claire could certainly try to get the detective drunk enough to get some answers. It would be worth a shot and definitely be an interesting way to test out the chemistry between the actors and see if it is still there. Spoilers say that Claire may end up in a dangerous situation, and hopefully she will use her charm to get the information she needs to help Noah as well. Come here for all things Y&R. Check back often for the young and the restless news, spoilers and updates. The shadows of Genoa City have grown darker, and secrets are bubbling just beneath the surface. The week ahead promises passion, danger, and deception as Claire steps into uncharted territory, one that could destroy everything she's built and test her chemistry with the people she loves most. What begins as a strategic play to gain power spirals into a seduction that will rock Genoa City's moral foundation, and not everyone will survive the fallout. The calm before the storm. Claire Grace had been walking a tightrope for months. Since returning to Genoa City, she had fought to prove herself, to show that she wasn't just another troubled soul with a tainted past. She wanted redemption. She wanted belonging. Most of all, she wanted control over her own destiny. But as the saying goes in Genoa City, no one ever truly escapes their demons. Her budding chemistry with Kyle Abbott had been heating up, sparking whispers throughout the city. They were an unexpected pair, opposites in every sense, and yet there was something magnetic between them. The more time they spent together, the harder it became to deny the pull. But just as Claire began to imagine a future that wasn't shadowed by regret, someone new entered her orbit, and that's where everything began to unravel. Enter the crooked cop. Detective Ryan Graves wasn't your typical lawman. Behind the badge, he had a long trail of questionable choices and moral compromises. He'd been stationed in Genoa City to investigate a string of corporate leaks tied to Newman Enterprises, but rumors swirled that his loyalties were for sale to the highest bidder. From the moment he met Claire, he was intrigued. She wasn't like the other women who fluttered around him, blinded by charm or fear. There was a steeliness in her gaze, a quiet intensity that drew him in. At first, their paths crossed by coincidence, or so it seemed. Claire had been meeting with Victor and Nikki to discuss her position at Newman Media, and Ryan just happened to be nearby, investigating a lead. Their first conversation was brief, professional even, but something electric hung in the air. Claire didn't trust him, and that made her even more interesting to him. Temptation in plain sight. It started innocently enough, a coffee at Crimson Lights, a few shared jokes about the chaos of Genoa City life, and then the kind of lingering looks that no one could quite explain. Kyle noticed the change immediately. He'd walk into a room and see Claire's phone light up with an unknown number. Her expression would flicker, half annoyed, half intrigued. When he'd ask, she'd brush it off. Just work stuff, she'd say, but Kyle's instincts told him otherwise. Meanwhile, Ryan was playing his own dangerous game. He had been investigating Newman's recent security breach but realized that Claire's insider access could be useful. If he could get close to her, close enough to make her trust him, he could exploit her connections for personal gain. But what he didn't expect was to genuinely fall for her. Every conversation between them felt like a match being struck in a room full of gasoline. You know, for someone who's supposed to keep things professional, Claire teased one afternoon, "You're awfully good at crossing lines." Ryan leaned closer, his tone smooth. "Maybe that's because I know which lines are worth crossing." A dangerous alliance. As their flirtation deepened, Claire found herself caught between two worlds, the stability Kyle offered and the danger Ryan promised. The thrill of the forbidden began to pull her under. Late one evening, she met Ryan at society under the pretense of discussing business, but the tension between them was palpable. The candlelight flickered between them, and every word seemed to carry double meaning. "You're not just here for a friendly chat, are you?" Claire asked, her voice low. Ryan smirked. "Would you believe me if I said yes?" "Not a chance," she replied. When he reached across the table, brushing his fingers against hers, the spark was undeniable. It was a moment of weakness or power, depending on who you asked. Claire knew she was treading dangerous ground, but something in her wanted to push the limits. She'd spent her entire life playing it safe, trying to prove she wasn't like her family. But this was something different. This was control, temptation, and risk all wrapped into one intoxicating package. Kyle's suspicion grows. Back at the Abbott mansion, Kyle's concern turned into frustration. He could sense Claire pulling away, but he didn't know why. Every time he tried to connect, she'd deflect with work excuses or emotional distance. When he confided in Summer, she didn't hold back. "You think she's being honest with you?" "Kyle, wake up. Claire's always had secrets. She's good at hiding them." Kyle wanted to defend Claire, he truly did, but a seed of doubt had been planted. Soon, he began digging on his own. He called in a few favors, asking contacts in law enforcement about Ryan Graves, the so-called detective who had suddenly become part of Claire's life. What he found chilled him: multiple complaints, internal investigations, and whispers of corruption. Ryan wasn't a cop seeking justice. He was a man playing both sides of the law. That night, Kyle confronted Claire. "Why didn't you tell me you were spending time with him?" he demanded. Claire hesitated. "Because it's none of your business." "None of my business?" he snapped. "He's dangerous, Claire. He's using you." But Claire's pride flared. "You don't know that. You don't know him." In that moment, Kyle realized that the woman he was falling for might be spiraling into something she couldn't control, and he was powerless to stop it. Claire's game turns deadly. Claire had told herself she was in control, that she was using Ryan as much as he was using her. She wanted to gather information, to stay one step ahead of Newman's enemies. But soon, she realized that Ryan was much more cunning than she'd imagined. He began feeding her half-truths, making her believe she was part of something bigger, an undercover operation, a hidden agenda meant to protect the company. What she didn't know was that he had been leaking sensitive information to a corporate rival. By the time she figured it out, she was already in too deep. One night, she followed him to a warehouse near the docks, her curiosity overtaking her caution. She hid in the shadows as Ryan met with a man she didn't recognize. Their conversation was brief but damning. Talk of payments, stolen files, and leverage against the Newmans. When Ryan spotted her, everything changed. "Claire," he said coolly, stepping closer. "You shouldn't be here." "You're selling out Newman," she accused, her voice trembling. "You used me." He tilted his head, a small smirk forming. "You knew what you were getting into. Don't play innocent." Before she could respond, he grabbed her arm. "Now you're part of this. Which means if I go down, you go down too." For the first time, Claire felt genuine fear. The man she thought she could manipulate had turned the tables completely. Kyle to the rescue. When Claire didn't answer her phone for hours, Kyle's instincts kicked in. He retraced her steps, eventually finding her car parked near the docks. As he searched the area, he heard raised voices coming from the warehouse. Bursting through the door, Kyle found Claire cornered by Ryan. "Let her go," Kyle ordered. Ryan laughed. "You should have stayed out of this, Abbott." The confrontation quickly escalated. A scuffle broke out. Ryan pulled a weapon. Kyle lunged, and Claire screamed. The chaos ended when sirens echoed in the distance. Ryan fled into the shadows, leaving Claire trembling and Kyle bruised but alive. When the police arrived, they found enough evidence to implicate Ryan in multiple crimes, including corruption and blackmail. But he had vanished, leaving behind a trail of destruction. As the adrenaline faded, Claire collapsed into Kyle's arms, sobbing. "I thought I could handle it. I thought I was stronger." He held her tightly. "You don't have to do everything alone anymore." Aftermath and reflection. The next morning, Genoa City was buzzing with rumors. Word of the crooked cop scandal spread quickly, and Victor Newman wasted no time tightening security around the company. Nikki, furious and protective, questioned why Claire had been involved at all. "I was trying to protect the family," Claire insisted. "By seducing a corrupt officer?" Nikki shot back. "You're lucky you're still breathing." Claire's guilt was overwhelming. She had wanted to prove her loyalty, but instead, she had nearly destroyed the trust she worked so hard to rebuild. Kyle, though hurt and confused, stood by her. "We all make mistakes, Claire," he said softly. "But this time, you can't keep secrets. Not from me, not from anyone." Their relationship hung in the balance, fragile but not yet broken. A final twist. Just when everyone thought the ordeal was over, a chilling message arrived at Newman Media. An encrypted email containing surveillance footage from the warehouse, showing not only Ryan's crimes, but also Claire's presence at the scene. The message was unsigned, but one phrase stood out. "This isn't over." Panic swept through the Newmans. Someone was still pulling strings from the shadows, and Ryan's disappearance was only the beginning. Claire knew that the past had come back to haunt her once again, and this time, escaping might not be possible. The fallout. In the days that followed, Claire retreated into herself. The once confident woman became distant and withdrawn, haunted by memories of Ryan's manipulation and her own reckless choices. Kyle tried to reach her, but the guilt was a wall she couldn't climb. When she finally confessed everything to Victor, his expression was unreadable. "You let emotion cloud your judgment," he said. "That makes you a liability." She braced for punishment, but instead, he offered an unexpected lifeline. "Prove your loyalty. Find out who Ryan was working for. End this once and for all." It was both a challenge and a test, one that would determine her future in the Newman Empire. Epilogue, chemistry, and consequence. Weeks later, as the chaos began to settle, Claire found herself standing on the terrace of the Newman Tower, watching the city lights flicker below. She'd learned the hard way that seduction and strategy rarely mix without consequences. Kyle joined her, his hand brushing hers gently. "You don't have to be perfect, Claire. You just have to be honest." She looked at him with a faint, bittersweet smile. "I'm trying, but I can't promise I won't make more mistakes." He squeezed her hand. "Then we'll face them together." But as they stood there, neither of them noticed the shadowy figure watching from the distance, a familiar smirk on his face, and a badge glinting faintly in the moonlight. Ryan Graves was back, and this time he wasn't just playing for money. He was playing for revenge.